We wish to acknowledge the people of the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we film our show. We respectfully recognise elders past and present. Welcome to the 5th episode of Season 9 of The Leak.
This week on The Leak, get up off that couch and get moving. We talk about sports.
But also, stay seated on that couch and watch us talk about sports.
The Olympics are happening this year. Or are they?
Or should they?
We talk about Olympians, the best of humanity at their physical and aesthetic peak, all cooped up together for 2 weeks of high-intensity successes and failures, high-running emotion, and intense connections. And the condoms they receive after performing.
The dedication. They never stop performing for Australia.
Our neighbour Chelsea Ryan comes over for a chat about what retired Olympians are up to with swimming all-star Meagen.
Also, we are joined by rhythmic gymnast Lidiia Iakovleva.
Mother-daughter dream team right there. And we discuss what holding the Olympics in a post-COVID world could mean for public health. Welcome to The Leak.
The man is a national hero.
Should he be though? I mean, he shouldn't have even been in that race, let alone win it.
Well, he used a valid tactic. National hero, he remains.
My national hero is this cat.
Oh my God, did you know poetry was an Olympic sport?
What?
Yeah, from 1912 to 1948. Showdown of the Poets. Sorry, Bradbury, but these guys are my new heroes. Everyone doing athletic stuff or fighting wars, and they're just like, excuse me, listen to my poem, my poem.
Damn, I could have done that. I could write a poem. I write all the time, like when I'm at home or when I'm online or, see, all the time.
Huh. Gold medal for Lakshmi.
For real though, I don't know if I'd go to the Olympics this year if I was an Olympic poet.
That's fair. I get why they had to cancel it if they had to, but it's still nice for all the athletes to get together and compete. And what if it was their last chance? After all those years of training, like, it's a real positive that is paying off for them.
Well, there was a runner that broke a record. Genevieve Gregson broke a 14-year-old record set from the 2006 Commonwealth Games in middle distance running. She wouldn't have broken that if the Olympics hadn't been postponed.
Huh.
Hey, did you know that the Olympics was originally a male-only event and that participants competed in the nude?
No. And did I need to know that?
Yes, well now you know how far they've come. This year is the first time a trans athlete will compete. Laurel Hubbard, let's go!
Oh, my positivity is rubbing off on you. And it's only taken 5 episodes.
What can I say? You and Judy have been good for me.
So, the naked man tradition lives on, but it's sort of evolved.
What do you mean?
Olympian orgies. But in good news, women are involved, so there's equality.
Olympian orgies, the only event where you don't get a medal if you come first. Well, I thought it was clever. So much for national pride though, sending off all of our athletes for an international bonkfest. I can hear the anthem now.
I mean, they've spent their whole lives training, preparing, disciplining themselves just so they can represent us. I mean, like, why not let them party? They've probably missed out on their fair share just to get to Tokyo alone.
Athletes will be given a 33-page handbook on how to social distance, but each athlete will also be given 14 condoms.
So that's confusing. No fist bumping, but crotch bumping is all good?
Maybe they have to wear them on their hands and their faces too.
Oh, double bag just to be safe.
Yeah, and social distance.
I guess we'll find out which athletes have Orlando Bloom wangs then.
Stalking now.
Oh my God, yes. with us again to talk about the Olympics and what's in store. It's our beautiful neighbour and all-round legend, Chelsea Ryan. Woo!
Chelsea, I am so excited for what you have in store for us today.
Thanks, me too. I've got an interview with Meagen, who's a dual Olympian, which I can't wait to share.
I can just imagine the intense preparation that would go into being able to reach the pinnacle of becoming an Olympic athlete.
Agreed. Like, I think we spend a lot of time marveling at the physical talents and skills of all of these athletes, but the mental aspects make or break that moment.
Yes, your body and mind need to act together as a dynamic force. Olympic athletes train for years just preparing for one competition. And so with that, everything comes down to a mental game.
And now, the moment we've been waiting for.
Meagen.
So Meagen, let me introduce you. You're an Australian dual Olympic team member. You're also a dual Commonwealth Games gold medalist. You've always loved swimming and had a passion for sport. And now after retiring from competitive swimming, you're also now a swim teacher, a PT, an F45 trainer, and you've been part of the Swimming Australia media team recently, and you're a motivational speaker. So much going on. Meagen, tell us a little bit about that journey to becoming an Olympic swimmer.
Yeah, it's a pretty long journey, actually. To be honest, I didn't start swimming till I was about 12 years old. So I was a bit of a late bloomer, as they like to say. But yeah, I started training properly when I was 12 because I had to do nippers. And then I think each year I just got better and better. And I think I was about 15 or 16 and I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like this sport goes to the Olympics. I reckon I could probably make this team. Just had a big goal of representing Australia, and I was fortunate enough, I got to do it twice at the Olympic level and a few times in between. So it's just became the dream, which became a reality. So I was super lucky.
That's awesome. So it just like gradually developed, or did you see like the 2000 Olympics and went, I want to be there, or what inspired you?
To be honest, I can't even remember the exact moment, but my dad passed away when I was 3 years old, and he actually represented Australia at the 1972 Munich Games. So that was, that's always like such a small part that always played in the back of my head that, it'd be pretty cool if I could, follow in his footsteps, so to speak. So that was, that little motivational kind of thing I needed to make sure it was, exactly what I wanted to do. But yeah, I think probably my dad probably inspired me the most. He did it in 1972. So I was like, okay, let's see what all the fuss is about. Let's see if I can make it.
And also, when it comes to, making, Com Games and Olympics, what kind of pressures put on you as a swimmer and as an athlete to get to that level?
The biggest pressure comes from yourself, because only you know how much effort and how much time and how many, laps you've put into training, that how much you've done. So you want it so bad that pressure is usually the expectation of yourself. And I think I say to young athletes along the way that if you're swimming for your parents, if you're swimming for your coach, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You got to want it, and you got to be swimming for yourself because you love it, and you're having fun. Yeah.
That's good. Because you're also an ambassador for the Black Line program. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, and it's a program to support young men and women, or young girls and boys, going through, different stages of swimming, being able to, go out to different communities, go out to different swimming clubs and try and explain that, everyone goes through that. And, being nervous or, or anything like that, we try and explain to young girls and, how to go through that, and maybe different strategies on how to get through those tough times, especially as a teenager through swimming. So I really enjoyed that. And I really, I'm really passionate about trying to keep young teenage girls in the sport.
And what I love the most is just your passion when you're speaking about it. Thanks so much for sharing your journey and your insight. And we'll catch you next time. We'll look forward to seeing everyone at the Olympics.
Yeah, we do. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks.
Wow, that's seriously amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Chelsea.
And see you next week.
Stay with us, Channel 31 viewers. Coming up, we chat more in depth about the Olympics and interview rhythmic gymnast and Tokyo 2021 Olympic hopeful Lidiia Iakovleva.
Feels strange the Olympics are on this year.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about them during an odd-numbered year. Does that mean the next one will be in 2025?
I hope not. It might disrupt the feng shui of things, like when you leave the TV volume on 13.
Speaking of disturbing the vibes, much of the Japanese public and health experts aren't too pleased about the imminent sporting event. There's been massive protests, and a recent poll showed that 83% of the public want the Olympics cancelled.
That's understandable given their recent COVID surge. Around 80% of their COVID death toll has occurred in the last 4 months. Side note, Japan has actually fared quite well in comparison to other developed nations, but that doesn't take away from the fact that their death toll has surpassed 12,000. And I guess all of these conditions together make things quite hairy when it comes to hosting the biggest sporting event in the world.
Yeah, protests haven't dampened the enthusiasm of the Japanese government and the International Olympic Committee. I read that they're saying it'd be unfair to postpone for the athletes.
I mean, I guess it would suck to put in all of that hard work and not get to reap the rewards, but they probably won't because it's not financially sensible. They depend on selling broadcast rights for about 75% of their income, and another 18% comes from sponsors. See, this is what happens when you let a profit-based federation make decisions.
It's not all about money though. Like I said earlier, for so many Olympic and Paralympic athletes, these games represent the peak of their careers. So much can change between now and the next Olympics. For so many of them, this is the only chance they have to go for gold.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally understandable. And I suppose seeing people achieving and aspiring might actually bring people joy during these tough times, like Eurovision did earlier this year. As we know from the events of the last year and a half, managing COVID is a team effort and requires cooperation from all participating states. I mean countries.
Try and pray your way out of that, ScoMo. Did you hear about Swim in Australia? They basically screwed over a bunch of Victorian Olympic swimmers by refusing to implement a COVID management plan.
But I heard Swimming Australia also moved a bunch of top-tier athletes to Queensland during the last lockdown so that they could compete in the qualifier, and left behind all of these less experienced athletes in Victoria.
Well, that's fucked. What's the point of a qualifier if you're pre-selecting who gets to go to it? And speaking of selectiveness, the numerous women's track and field disqualifications. Like, they banned Brianna McNeil because she missed a drug test. But in doing so, they then forced her to reveal to the world that she was actually recovering from an abortion she'd had.
God, that's so demeaning. And then they banned numerous female runners because they didn't fall within the World Athletics normal testosterone levels. And it's a requirement that doesn't extend to male athletes, by the way. I mean, all these guidelines have done is exclude women of colour and gender-diverse athletes.
Surely with how difficult things are already, the last thing they would want is more controversy. But nope, there they go, banning the soul cap. I mean, it's a swimming cap designed for black and afro hair.
The only thing Olympic culture is faster, higher, stronger in at the moment is discrimination.
Point Lakshmi. But there is still some diversity on the Australian team though. We're sending a record amount of female as well as Indigenous athletes. For example, Paddy Mills is our first Indigenous flag bearer for the opening ceremony. And we're also sending Ash Barty, who's female and Indigenous.
And a bloody legend. The International Olympics Committee isn't enforcing mandatory vaccinations though, so considering vaccinations is currently the best tool we have against COVID, it really does feel counterproductive.
Wait, why should we vaccinate athletes and their entourages? They're hardly the most essential workers. And given the glaring inequalities in vaccine access for recovering nations, surely we shouldn't be privileging massive sports stars.
But perhaps seeing sporting superstars get the jab might convince Joe Bloggs in the street to get vaccinated.
That's true. And if we're going to pull off such a large-scale event, we should be making sure that every participant has the chance to get vaccinated, especially those from recovering nations. I guess it comes back to what the Olympic means to people. And if you see it as a chance for global communion, then sure, we should do what we can to make it run relatively trouble-free.
Yeah, it's going to happen, so we've just got to make sure it happens safely. Because the last thing we want is to redefine Olympic fever. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Oui.
Now give me your best victory pose. Boom!
Paris Olympics 2024, here we come. So coach, what's next?
Well, who better to get some Olympia advice from than none other than a real hot off the block sports person like our next gold medal winning rhythmic gymnast and Tokyo 2021 Olympic hopeful Lidiia Iakovleva. Welcome.
Hey, Lidiia. Hello.
Hello.
Congratulations on representing Australia and making it to the Tokyo Olympics. When did you first discover your passion for rhythmic gymnastics?
So I started gymnastics at the age of 7, but I think I discovered my passion at the end of 2016 when I've done a few competitions, especially international competitions, and I got a feel of what the sport is like.
Lidiia, what advice would you give to anyone keen to compete in the next Olympics?
Definitely work hard, set goals, and never give up because you don't know how far you can go.
That's beautiful and so apt. What do you think is the biggest challenge most gymnasts are facing today?
I think especially rhythmic gymnasts today, there's not enough funding because competitions, uniform, training camps are really expensive, and currently it's all self-funded. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges today.
And prior to or during a competition, do you have any special rituals that you do?
Before I compete on the floor, I like to do a few pliés and repeat to myself that, Lidiia, you're a fighter, you have to fight to the end.
That's beautiful. And speaking of being a fighter, what are some life lessons that being a pro gymnast has taught you?
I think gymnastics has taught me a lot, especially discipline, time management, how to put in 100% into anything I do, and yeah, basically a lot of things.
Fantastic. And who do you think is your greatest inspiration and why is that?
I think my greatest inspiration is my mum, who's also my coach. She's the person that inspires me the most. But I also try to find inspiration in everything and anything around me, whether it's a teammate that I train with or a book that I read.
Speaking of your mum, what is the best thing about your mum being your coach?
I think the best thing is that she knows me really well and she knows where she can push me harder and where we need to step back a bit. And I think sometimes she knows me better than I do.
And what can we do to support our favourite sports person or team?
Like I said, rhythmic gymnastics is not a very well-developed sport in Australia, and therefore not a lot of funding comes through. So definitely funding for the club, for the gymnast, or just simply coming in to watch the competition, because not many spectators come and watch the competitions.
Lidiia, thank you so much for popping by and chatting sports with us. Hope to see you smashing your goals sometime soon, and all the best for Tokyo.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lidiia.
Welcome to this year's coverage of the 2020-ish. Yes, that's right, the 2020-ish, the League Olympic Games.
And boy, do we have some amateur athletes in our cast and crew taking part in the League Olympics this year.
This is going to be a ripper of a day.
First up is round 1 of the wrestling 1.5 metre edition.
And here's the umpire, and what a job they've got trying to keep social distancing in check.
I'm interested to see their take on this event.
Enough. Absolutely not.
Oh, and the umpire putting their body on the line. They shut this match down in no time at all.
What a touch this umpy is for the no touching safety protocols.
Do you think the IOC will mind?
Maybe they won't notice.
I did notice.
Bloody hell, are they on God mode or something?
And when I work out how to sanction you for this, rest assured I will.
Sanction us for social distancing. Can they do that? For the viewers at home, this year at the Leak Olympics, to keep in line with everything of the real modern-day Olympics, the IOC,
The International Olympics Committee.
have stepped in to oversee our local studio-run Olympic Games this year.
How did they even find out about us?
I don't know.
Yes, that's right. The IOC will be here on the ground enforcing
Gently guiding us in the ways of their Olympic vision.
And I, for one, am absolutely stoked to have them along for the ride. I am absolutely terrified.
And let's cross live now to the premiere event of the day, the quarterfinals of the 10-metre studio dash. Let's head to the track and see how the Leak athletes are shaping up.
Looking very limber.
Looking hungry for the win, and the track is looking absolutely lush out here today. Our fearless leader and part-time groundskeeper, Erin, has done an outstanding job.
No kneeling!
Is this for real?
No kneeling! That's obviously a Black Lives Matter reference and I will not have it. This is a bloody nightmare.
How do we get rid of them?
On your marks.
Well, this doesn't look good.
Oh, this will not end well at all.
Disqualified! All of you, get off the track!
We are being told to move on, so we are crossing live now to the opening heat of the Leak Olympics bag race.
I didn't know we were having a bag race.
It's some kind of long-standing IOC tradition that we had to include. Now, it might not look like it, but I was actually bag race champion 3 years running at my local primary school.
Well, this is no primary school event. Today, each competitor needs to hop that bag of bribe money to the nearest relative of an IOC official in the fastest time. What is this ethical? Can we even do this?
I think our bags might be too small, to be honest. Tokyo managed to make 900 million yen disappear in all kinds of accounting manoeuvres.
That is almost 11 million Australian dollars.
Yeah, we're gonna need much bigger bags.
Yeah, I agree. These bags are much too small. How do you expect these athletes to jump over water to my offshore account? Did you think this through at all?
We think you should have some standards, mate. That's what we think.
We've got standards, and those standards don't include human rights. If you can't abide by the rules we set, you cannot participate in the Olympics.
Okay, that's it. I quit.
And we have a winner!
I don't know about you, Marie, but I am wiped. That was quite the workout for us.
Yeah, it's not surprising. Getting to talk to Lidiia Iakovleva and learn so much about her amazing perspective was fantastic. She has got to teach me how to do a backflip as good as the one she does.
Well, I was mainly referring to cleaning up after our sports gear, but that too. And Chelsea popping in for a visit was both wholesome and delightful, as always.
Yeah, and Meagen really embodies a lot of amazing skills and attributes. I hope the next chapter of her life is just as happy.
I hope so too. I need a nap. Should we do some morning yoga tomorrow?
Yeah, and you know what? I found the perfect playlist for it. And I'll show you just after these guys head off. Catch ya! Shoo!